Oh no, she's recording us.
Welcome back to the Get Validated podcast. You get validated anytime you do something kind and loving for yourself, kind and loving for the planet. And as many of you know, I'm very passionate about decluttering your mind and your home. It is a huge honor to have the clutter expert, Mel Mason, with us today. Welcome, Mel.
Woo, yeah, so excited to get validated. I love that term. That's just amazing.
Isn't it so fun? Like, get validated by anything that I would be into, which is pretty much anything magical, personal transformation, all of the things.
Yeah, so right here, you heard it first. I've been validated. Woo!
I'm so excited. So I want to share a little bit more about you and just your amazing story. So Mel is a best-selling author. She's known as the Clutter Expert. Her book came out in 2020. It's called Freedom from Clutter, the guaranteed foolproof step-by-step process to remove the stuff that's weighing you down. And Mel has a very interesting story, which definitely wanted to get into. She is a sexual abuse survivor, growing up depressed, suicidal, and surrounded by clutter. And when she realized after coming back from the brink of despair and getting through her own chaos, was that the outside is just a mirror of the inside. And if you only organize the outside without changing the inside, the clutter keeps coming back. And that's why you can clear a surface or organize your closet, and in no time, it's cluttered back up again. So that her set her on her mission to empower people around the world to get free from clutter and experience more happiness and more abundance in every area of their lives. You can get into her world in the show notes. It's a beautiful, fun place to be. She's doing a lot of events. She's very generous with her time and her resources, and is just on this journey to help people declutter their mind and home. So thank you so much for following your mission.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. Looking forward to all the fun things we're going to talk about today.
I know. So I'm sure just reading your bio, some people are feeling some of the feels. And, because there's people who don't realize that their abuse has to do with the clutter. And then there's some people who have abuse like I did. And I went kind of the opposite direction of being like super OCD. I don't hold on to anything very long. I'm just like, I don't need it in my field. So through your work with clients over the years and just your speaking engagements and all of the beautiful things that you do, where do you find that you can kind of meet people where they're at and then see where to come at it from a certain angle, just because everyone's kind of sprinkled in the different areas of how the clutter is impacting them and like where it started, why it started?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to meet people where they are. And I'm glad that you said that, because one of the first things that I wanted to say is there's probably some people out there that when they hear, oh my God, sexual abuse, all this abuse, I don't identify with that. This isn't for me. Goodbye, click, I'm done. So don't turn off now. You
Yeah.
don't have to have these big, hairy traumas in your life to have clutter. It's not necessarily, we all, no human goes through life unscathed and doesn't accumulate the what I call the inner clutter, or you've probably heard it as emotional clutter, right? None of us go through life without accumulating some of that. It's impossible not to, because as we're kids, we don't know how to handle emotions as we start to feel them. And most often, we don't have parents that emulate a way to do that. None of our parents really know how to handle their emotions. So, what do we learn how to do with those is we stuff them. They're not, you know, don't feel your feelings. I'll give you something to cry about. Children should be seen and not heard. Whatever it is, we learn to just like, whoop, I shouldn't feel that. I'm not going to feel that. So I'm going to stuff it down, and it gets repressed, it gets stuck, it becomes inner clutter, it gets stuck in your cellular makeup, right? And also the other form of inner clutter, the other big form of inner clutter, is the limiting beliefs and programming, the programs that we take on from 0 to 8, because we don't have a filter. We believe everything to be true from 0 to 8. So when you hear the stories like children should be seen and not heard, money doesn't grow on trees, or whatever the limiting programming is, we take that as truth. And then what we also do is we hear something or we see something, and it can be something super minor, like your your mom forgot to pick you up at school one day. Like, people are human, like got busy or was late. And you then make up this meaning about it. Like, I don't matter. So you put a story on it. You make up a meaning to it. Like, I don't matter. Not necessarily true. That's not necessarily how your mom feels about you, but you've made up this meaning about it. And then that becomes your programming that you operate from. Because as human beings, we're like computers. We have to have an operating system. And that operating system is our beliefs. And our beliefs are what generate the thoughts that we think. And the thoughts that we think generate the reality that we experience. And so if you believe and you make up the meaning that I don't matter, then you will recreate that experience in all of your relationships and think that it's true. Well, you've set yourself up to believe that it's true. So you don't have to have a big hairy trauma to have emotional clutter. Every single human being accumulates inner clutter, the emotional clutter, and it manifests differently for lots of people. So maybe you're listening to this and you're first like, clutter, like I don't have physical clutter. Maybe you're like Fallon and like everything is in perfect order, right? I don't have anything out of place. Like everything is perfect order. Well, there's lots of other manifestations too that the inner clutter takes. So you have your physical clutter that accumulates. Then you have extra body weight that accumulates on your body. Then there's being in relationships that aren't necessarily healthy. You go from one relationship to the next. It's the same relationship, just a different face. Or how many out there like hear yourself say all the time, oh my God, I wish there was more time in a day. I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. I know more retired people that have less time now than they did when they were working full time raising kids.
Wow.
Right. And then it shows up as different addictions, whether it's to social media, chocolate, or hardcore like drugs, alcohol, gambling, pornography, things like that. There's so many ways that this inner clutter manifests. So if you heard the word clutter and you're like, yeah, don't have that, it's not just that. So keep listening.
Yeah. So beautiful. Like everything you said is like so perfect. And like, I'm so grateful that you're here because that's what people don't get. You know, they hear trauma, they don't think of it as in we all have it, like clutter, like we aren't actively going through these processes that I would love for you to share some of your little secrets of, you know, if we're not staying focused on this every single day, like the clutter is going to come back in some way, in whatever way that that does manifest.
Yeah, absolutely. And, what I want to say too is that being human, like just the fact that you came out of a nice, warm, cozy womb onto planet Earth, that's freaking traumatic. Okay. Like, I don't know about you, but I was like, put me back in. I don't want to be here. Right. That's a traumatic experience all in itself. So if you were born human, you have clutter. There's no way around it. Okay. We all have it. Even the clutter expert has clutter and we're never done. But what sets me apart from other people you've probably listened to is that I operate off the premise, well, it's actually a law, just like gravity, that the outside is only a mirror of the inside. And if you know gravity, you don't have to believe in it for it to work, right? Go jump off a building without wings or without a parachute.
Yeah.
Gravity's still working, okay? So you don't have to believe in it for it to work. Well, there's many laws in operation in the universe, and one of them is the principle of correspondence, which states, as above, so below, or as within, so without. And in simple terms, what that means is if you want the outside to change, it must happen from the inside out first in order for that change to last. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure many of you have cleared a surface, cleared out your closet, got the car parked in the garage again, or released the weight, got out of the relationship, got out of debt, whatever the symptom was, got off whatever drug you were on, and inevitably found the clutter come back, the weight come back, the relationship come back, the debt come back, new addiction formed, whatever it is, right? Because you were going from the outside in, trying to deal with the symptom, not the cause. And so the only way to get free from all the manifestations of clutter in every area of your life is to start from the inside out, addressing the inner clutter. That's why Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see. You get to be it before you will experience it. And when you change the inside, what is so powerful about it, and what's so beautiful about that, you don't have to believe it for it to work, but when you just do it and you start seeing shifts happen in your life, when you begin to shift you, the outside changes effortlessly, like spontaneously and effortlessly. I don't know how many of you out there have tried to get organized, but how many of you, when you do, you're like, oh my God, I got to clean out the closet. Oh my God, I got to clear out. And it's dreadful. You're like trying to drag yourself. It's like getting molasses to go uphill in the middle of January. Not very fun, right? It's miserable, right? Imagine if you actually just found yourself one day going through the junk drawer spontaneously, not even aware of it. And shh, get ready for this. You were having fun doing it. I just did say the word fun and organizing together. Yes, it gets to be fun, it gets to be easy, and it gets to be effortless. And the reason why I know this is because I was the cluttered mess. You couldn't walk in my room, and I wasn't like you, your listeners, trying to get organized. I wanted to die. I didn't want to clean my room. I didn't care about my room. I wanted to get out of this body and get off this planet as fast as freaking possible. And as a result of learning how to address the inner clutter to get to the root, what for me, I said magically happened until I understood what was really going on, was that I went from someone, now I'm not talking like I just had, some clutter. Like most people have a path that they could get through in their house. There were no paths. Now, granted, I didn't have it. I was so young. I didn't have all the paths, but there were no paths to walk through. If you came in my room and you weren't me, you were taking your own life in your hand, you would probably break your neck. And I didn't have just stuff on the floor. I had trash too. Like I didn't care. So I wasn't asking for help. I wasn't trying to get organized. And as a result of being willing to start at the root and address the inner clutter, what I found was that I spontaneously started to create order in my life. And I went from someone who was a chaotic mess to someone who loves creating order out of chaos. And within a year's time, everything had a place, everything was in its place. And all of my jobs from that point forward required serious organization skills. So I went 180 degrees, and it happened simply by being willing to get to the root of the clutter, not going from the outside in. Because my mom would clean my room all the time. But it would always go right back to the mess that it was, and sometimes worse than it was before, because she just tore down my whole defense system. Like that was my protection. What the hell are you doing? Now it's going to be worse, right? Keep you out, gonna keep me out too. But that's a whole different story. And the best part about it is I never once said, oh, on Friday, I'm going to work for a couple hours in my room and clean my room. It was spontaneous and almost unconscious. That's how powerful this work is. When you start from the inside out, it's effortless, it's spontaneous, and it happens at the exact right time in your timing.
I mean, doing that 360 in a year, and I'm sure a lot of people listening are in the personal development space, like that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful. That's why when I look back to my life, I'm like, I tell my clients, I'm like, if I didn't happen for me and I was listening to some woman tell me that if I just dealt with, like, started from the inside out, it was going to be easy, effortless, and I'm going to have fun, I'd be like, you're fucking crazy. Yeah. Who are you? Late, right? But it worked for me. I didn't believe it would work for others until I started working with my clients. I've been working with clients for 9.5 years, and I keep seeing the results happen over and over again. But the most beautiful part is when they don't believe that it's going to work and they do it anyway. And they're like, oh, that allowing the now, that starting from the inside out, that really works. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
the universe. I'm so great. You did such a good job explaining that too, because if nobody's listened and heard of the Hermetic principles, like it's a lot to take
Yeah.
it. Such a good job explaining it.
I love that you even know where it comes from. No one's ever mentioned the Hermetic
So
principles. I
Mel and
love it.
we met through one mutual contact, found out we had another big mutual contact. So I feel like they're even in the conversation with us. And it's like Hermetic principles was definitely drilled into my mind. So
Yeah, one of my favorite books is The Kabbalion.
so cool. Oh, I know what I wanted to go back to when you said, I see people, and this has been since the beginning of Facebook, whenever the fuck that was, the post of like, Gandhi saying, be the change you wish to see in the world. I have never heard anyone say it the way that you said it and it mean what it actually means. And now I have this whole new like experience of it. And I wanted to say something just so people paid attention to that, because I continue to see those posts and it's a beautiful thing, but I don't even know if some of those people understand like what it really means. And I just now know what this really means. And I'm just grateful that you shared that.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And I love, the other thing I'll say too is like, because the outside is only a mirror of the inside. And the reason why that is we as humans, we cannot see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a mirror. It's the only way that we can become aware of our blind spots, of what's blocking us, what's limiting us, what's keeping us from reaching our true potential. And when it even's like, when you always hear like you're pointing the finger, blaming someone, you got four fingers pointing back at yourself. Well, the truth is you cannot see it in somebody else unless it's already in you, the mirror, right? Well, it also works for compliments. So if you see somebody, you're like, oh my God, you're so amazing, you're so powerful, you're so this, you're so that, you're so beautiful, whatever. You can't see it in them if it's not already in you, which is so, so beautiful. But then the other thing that I love about this is it's like, we're in relationship with someone and you're gonna be like, oh, you don't spend enough time with me. I don't feel like a priority to you, whatever the story is, right? Well, what it really comes down to is what you're saying is, I don't make enough time for me. I haven't made myself a priority. So I'm getting that reflection back to me. And the minute that you make yourself a priority, that you give yourself your attention, the world shifts. Everything shifts. The outside shifts when you shift. I often have parents be like, how do I get my kids to clean their room? Or wives or, spouses be like, how do I get my husband to clean up his stuff or do this? I'm like, you take action, you do you, and they're going to shift. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, my husband started doing that honey-do list that's been there for years. Like he just started putting up shelves and he just started doing this and he's going through his own stuff. When you shift, they shift. The outside has to match who you are. It reflects you back to you. So if you don't like what you're getting, change the inside and your outside will match.
I love that. So if there was one big thing, because I know people are thinking how, which is like sometimes the dirty word, right? In manifesting development and stuff. But like if there was one thing for them to start doing to go inside and do some kind of rearranging, what would you say that is?
You ready for something so super freaking simple? Like it's so simple, it's mind boggling. Everybody will complicate the hell out of it, but it's so super simple. Okay, so let me break it down. So whatever the manifestation of clutter is, was it the physical stuff, the weight, the addiction, whatever it is, it all accumulates for one simple reason when we boil it down. We don't need to know why we had the story or any of that stuff, but there's one simple reason why things accumulate. I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be brutal. Okay. It boils down to one thing: your unwillingness to look at it. Okay. That's it. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know if I should keep it. So I don't know what to do. So I'm just not going to look. I'm not going to look. So here goes this resistance, this unwillingness, right? Well, if the outside is a mirror of the inside, and you've just heard what I've been saying, what do you think that really means? You're unwilling to look within. You're unwilling to be present for your own experience. Intimacy, willingness to be intimate with yourself. And until you can do that, all of the clutter will keep accumulating. And the best part about it is there's no fancy techniques. Like there's nothing to do but be willing to witness your experience and stop and give yourself the gift of your own attention. It's like if you're in a relationship with someone, the thing that we want most from them, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship, is time and attention. Well, you get to give that to yourself first by being willing to witness your own experience. And what I mean by that is just simply noticing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what your body is experiencing, maybe sounds you're hearing or smells you're smelling, but giving yourself the gift of your own presence and just being quiet with yourself. It's not meditating. You don't need to quiet your mind. You don't need to concentrate and focus on a candle. You don't need to do any of that, but be willing to be the witness of your own experience and meet yourself right where you are. That's it. Simple.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's so super simple.
I love it. So, you've been doing this 9.5 years. You help people like all over the world. What is a recent success story? You could kind of give us like a little snippet of.
Oh my God, I love it. Like I literally just had a conversation, was working with someone and they went and spent, I don't recommend this, doing 6 hours at a time, but they just went on a binge and they had let their bedroom be like the dumping grounds, and they're married. It's where she and her husband sleep. So it was the dumping grounds, and like you couldn't walk in there. There was stuff everywhere. The pile of dirt that she wound up sweeping up afterwards was like just so much dust and debris. She went and cleaned the entire room in 6 hours, just blew right through it. I was like, wow, absolutely. Wow, wow, wow. And then a little funny story, like don't expect, it's like some weird stuff will happen, right? This one woman I worked with, they had sent this film off to be developed in 2017. Okay. 2017. Never got it back. Nothing ever happened. They just let it go. They started practicing simply just being willing to look and making the space for themselves. And next thing you know, the film showed up fully developed in 2023. Like this just happened like a few months ago.
Gosh, that's
Like
amazing.
6 freaking years later, right?
That is amazing. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's magical, but it's also the science based on the laws of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I actually practicing what I preach, the way that I launched my business was by doing what I teach. I manifested a $50,000 check to come to my mailbox where I took time off to then which gave me the idea to even launch my business 9.5 years ago. So it's not just the clutter that goes away. Like my whole premise is that it's your birthright to thrive in every area of your life, and clutter is anything that gets in the way of that. So when you become willing to look, every area of your life starts to get better, like your health, your relationships, your finances, your home, every area of your life improves. And I actually have some clients that get a little mad because they come into my community and they're expecting the clutter to clear up first. They're like, I'm not spontaneously clearing the clutter. But in the very next sentence, I'm like, oh, but I've released weight and I feel happier.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's great.
That is amazing. I am so grateful for you and your time and your insight and your expertise. And I'm going to put some information below in the show notes, but is there anything specific else you would like to share so the audience can get in your world?
If you just Google Mel Mason, the Clutter Expert, I have a YouTube channel. You'll be able to download my book, Freedom from Clutter, by going to freegiftfrommel.com. That puts you in my community. I'm constantly teaching free workshops. Like I teach a workshop almost like once a week. I don't know when this is going to air, but I am launching a new 4-week accelerated clutter mastery course. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can just reach out to me. We start August 7th. But yeah, you can just Google my name. You'll find me on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube, all that fun stuff. And I'm easily accessible. But the thing that I want to leave you with is that the only requirement for you to get free from clutter in every area of your life is your presence. Your presence is required.
I love that. Sounds so simple, so easy.
It so is.
So definitely let that sink in, everybody. That's extremely important. But thank you so, so, so much, Mel. This was amazing. I'm so grateful for you.
Oh, likewise. Thanks so much for having me. Such an honor to be here.
Yes. And
So
I love
glad we're connected.
brought us together. It was definitely just all the things that you were talking about. You couldn't have planned it if you tried.
Nope. Nope. Divinely guided. I love that stuff. Stay out of the way. Just suit up and show up is my motto.
Ooh, I love that.
It's my only job. Suit up and show up and let me be of use. Okay.
That is amazing. Thank you guys so much for being here. And as always, just use the hashtag Get Validated podcast on social media. And if you post on Instagram something that you felt validated about and tag me, I will Venmo you $5, no questions asked, and a big virtual hug. We are sending you so much love.